Okay, I've got 12:02, so let's begin. Thanks a lot for joining me today. My name is Dean McEwen. I'm the director of the Master of Management of Artificial Intelligence program here at Smith School of Business. Um, as you know, this webinar was a special invitation to certain people who expressed interest of taking the MMAI program from outside of the GTA. So this is something that we've been um, literally contemplating for quite some time. And so what we're going to go ahead and make it sort of official starting in May 2026. So again, this should be a relatively short webinar because I don't want to go into all the details of the program because there's lots of other webinars out there that do that. And so I want to give you the opportunity to ask questions about this because it is a little bit different. However, the program itself is the same. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is land acknowledgement. So I just want to acknowledge that we are um, learning on the lands of Indigenous people of Canada, including the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, the Mississaugas, and the Credit River, and so we're very happy to be able to learn on these lands. Okay, so again, the program structure, it is exactly the same program. We're just teaching it in a different way. The MMAI program, if you haven't really done a lot of research into it, it's very unique. I don't think you're going to find many programs that are like it. There's a similar one, but certainly not the same at York and Schulich. But our program is definitely designed for professional learners, people who are working full time. And this is, again, another reason why the hybrid format is so attractive to people because we don't want to force people to have to move to Toronto. And that has happened in the past. People have either commuted back and forth between like Ottawa, Montreal, and London, Ontario to the classroom. And quite honestly, this is a much safer way of doing it. And you don't have to worry about November through February and snowstorms and all that kind of fun stuff in Canada. Um, but ultimately, we are a business school offering a very technical program. So this is about artificial intelligence, and it is about the management of artificial intelligence, which again has become very, very important over the past, let's say, 3 years, and that importance is not disappearing. And by looking at it through a business school lens and about the management of AI, that allows us to have a much broader approach to solving the problems that we're looking to, right? We're going to start out with a business problem. Right, what is going on in this situation? What do we need to do? Do we have to adjust our marketing? Do we have to adjust our supply chain? Are we looking for financial analysis to look for mergers and acquisitions? Any of these things that can happen in today's businesses can possibly use AI, right, and data analysis and analytics to basically solve these problems. So what we do in this program is really come into, we want to understand what the root cause analysis of that business problem is. And then we want to think about how we're going to solve that problem. And then we want to think about what kind of data do we have to help us solve this problem. And then as you go through, you have to start thinking about, okay, what technologies are we going to use? What algorithms are we going to use? And how do you adjust it? And what this does is allows you, or allows us, to help you develop your business skills in a very technological world, right? That technology, that AI stuff is not going away. And so we, as a society, really, we need business leaders, right, who can lead through this change. And this is a digital transformation that has never been seen before. And so it's having huge impacts on organizations and society. And so we need leaders who can step up and say, hey, I know what we're doing here. I can do this. We can do this. We can do this right. And we can solve these problems very quickly. And so as you see from the last box here is about team coaching. So this is a team-based program. And that's a very important part too, because the technology is only going to get you so far. You have to be able to work with people. And so the significant part of this program is team-based. Half of all your assessments are going to be team-based. And you're going to be working with a team and the same team throughout the entire program as well. And this team will be led by or supported by a coach, and you'll probably have about 6 of your classmates on that team with you, and you'll be working together throughout the program. Now, the program timeline. So this is, again, exactly the same as our regular MMAI program. In fact, you'll be joining that program and those students in that same cohort. So we do have, this is why we call it hybrid. I'm going to get into that a little bit in a second, but we have an opening session, which is in person. Okay, so you do have to come to Kingston in May 2026 and join us for a week, taking a couple of academic courses, learning about high-performing teams, and working in this environment. So this is a really important part. And then after that, right, we talk the remote courses for you as hybrid learners. We break the program down into modules, and there's 2 courses per module, and each module takes 8 weeks. So you're taking 2 courses every 8 weeks. Again, exactly the same as the regular MMAI program. Now we have a second in-person week in November of 2026. So the students are coming here in a couple of weeks, actually. And so again, you come to Kingston. So this is the, when you think about that, this is the hybrid learning part. So there's sections of the program that are in person, and then there are sections of it that are going to be online. Okay, and so this allows you to be flexible in how you take these courses. And then again, the last part is back to the remote courses as you finish up the program. Now, we have a certain expectations. I just saw there's a question in there about would this program be valuable for someone with a non-technical background but has worked within a technical environment. So this is the technical part, right? So, the AI and AI technology is changing quite a bit, but ultimately what you need to do is have a mathematical understanding of machine learning. You have to understand what's going on inside an algorithm. So if you draw on a particular algorithm to help you solve a specific problem, and quite honestly, in this environment, you'll test many different algorithms to see which one works best. And so you have to have an understanding of how to do that, right? So you want to know which model is going to work best with your data set and solving your business problem. And you have to be able to test that and verify that. And then how do I interpret the results of my model? So as you build an artificially intelligent system, you need an output, and you want to make sure that that output is what you expected it to be, right? Or at least in the realm, and that you can verify and trust that result to make sure that it is what you want. And then how do you evaluate, whether your model is going to generalize to future data? So this is another thing that's moving very, very quickly, is how do we gather data, right? All of a sudden over the past, 18 months, search is not the same search as it used to be. And so when people log in and do a search now, and they start using things like generative AI and ChatGPT, you're getting a very different data outsource from that, right? The data is very different. And so you want to make sure that you can sort of project and figure out what kind of data is going to be coming in the future, and how can I leverage that, because it will be different than what we've been doing for the past decade. And then also with a lot of models and a lot of AI systems, there's a lot of different features, right? So you can turn them on and off. You have to figure out, okay, what is the least number of features that I can get by, because least number of features is going to mean more efficiency. And with that, when you start looking at cloud computing and the cost of that kind of compute, they're very extraordinary. So you want to be able to be as lean and efficient as possible when you're developing these systems. And so we're going to be looking at all these things in this program. So this is where, again, that technical component that Sammy was asking about, this is where this comes into play. And this is also, when you're thinking about this program, you do have to have a certain comfort level with mathematics in order to be successful in this program. Now, here are the different courses that we're going to be offering. Again, looking back at what Sammy's question about the technical aspects of it. So we start off, or not really start off, we have these courses peppered all over the place, but at the very beginning, we do look at those, what we call method courses. How do you do actual AI and AI implementation? So we have mathematics for AI, machine learning and AI technology. We got AI innovation and entrepreneurship. So it gets a brain thinking in a little different way to say, okay, you know what? We've got this problem. What are the different ways that we can use to solve this problem? And so that innovation piece is really important. And it needs to be entrepreneurial, because we're dealing with things that have never been dealt with before, right? That's a key component here, is that we are thinking differently. right? We are leveraging tools that are new to us. And so we need to think way outside the box and thinking about this stuff and figure out how we can apply it in the best way we possibly can. Now, we move into the technical courses, and so this is one of the things that we do. We don't even have a course in what we'll call generative AI, which is probably a good thing now because most people are talking about agentic AI these days. But this is moving very quickly. But what isn't moving quickly, although the research is moving for sure, is these fundamental technological courses in deep learning, like neural networks, natural language processing, and reinforcement learning and its application. Okay, so these are the underlying technologies below that run all of these apps or solutions that are called AI, the generative AI, all that kind of stuff. They need these technologies. And I think we have to be very realistic about that. Like, we are never going to know what Sam Altman and OpenAI is planning ahead for ChatGPT. I saw him speak, that was probably a year and a half ago in Toronto, and he talked about ChatGPT 8.0, right? And I think his just most released 5.0. And so even a year and a half ago, he was thinking about the 8th version of ChatGPT. And so we, as outside the organization, will never know what's going on with these different versions. But what we can know is what's going on with deep learning, natural language processing, and reinforcement learning. We can follow the research because a lot of it is open and used by universities and things. And so we can follow that and figure out exactly where reinforcement learning is going, how it's being used, and how it's being leveraged. And then we can sort of have a crystal ball into what those next versions of ChatGPT are going to be. And that's a really important aspect when you are working for an organization and you've been tasked with developing an AI solution to solve that problem. You need to know two things, right? Do you buy it or do I build it? And so in order to buy it or build it, you have to understand the resources that are needed to do those two things, making sure that you have the capacity to build it, for example. Or when you buy it, you want to make sure you're buying the latest and greatest. You don't want to be buying something that, probably, today is maybe not even called artificial intelligence anymore, right? There's a lot of stuff that's just, predictive modeling and using analytics and statistics. But you want to make sure you're getting the latest and greatest, because if you're recommending to your organization that they spend $5 million on this tool, you want to make sure that tool is going to be good and cutting edge for the next 3 to 4 years until the next time you get another $5 million to spend, which is pretty rare. And then we get into application courses. So these are also important because this allows you to apply your knowledge in certain specific areas. So AI in finance, AI in marketing, and we also have a capstone project in this program. And that capstone project is your opportunity to take all the learnings you've taken in this program and apply it to solve a specific business problem. And then you can talk about it. You can talk about what you've done, right? You and your teammates who have been working on this project together, you can use that as part of your personal brand when you're applying for jobs and looking for advancement in your career. That's a really key component, especially in the world of AI, because it actually shows you, or shows them, the hiring company or committee, that you know what you're doing, right? You've done it. You've done this, and now you want to implement it and do it again for them. Huge opportunity there. And then we have our power skill courses. So these lay more on the business side of things, but are equally important because, again, as I said off the top, it's not just about the technology, right? It's about people. And you have to be able to work with people in order to get things done. So we have an introduction to management. We understand a lot of people haven't even taken a business course before. So we want you to understand what it is to run a business, what's a financial statement look like, how do I work with people, again, in a team environment, these kinds of softer skills just to get you into the mode of, oh my gosh, this is a business program, not a computer science program. We have agile project management for AI because that skill set of managing these projects and also managing digital products as well, all very important for getting these things done, right? You go on an AI project, you've got to get it done. And so now we have a project management course to help you with that. And again, it's like the, wrangling cats, right? Getting them all together in the same thing, understanding the resources you need to do that, and then implementing a timeline and resource schedule. The all important part is AI ethics and policy as well. So when you're developing these machines to do this stuff on their own, right? And so if you build a system and it's starting to make decisions for you that you think are right, but uh, a computer system is making thousands of decisions in a second. It's not just one or two decisions. So you have to make sure that before you hit the go button, that system is running according to your organization and your own personal ethical considerations and moral policies. Okay, so you don't want to be doing something that's going to run risk. And risk averse is big words in Canada, particularly. People are very worried about the management of risk and understanding risk and foreshadowing those potential risk events. And so we want to have a policy around AI and ethics and understanding the step-by-step go through to make sure that what you are doing as an employee of that organization and using customer data perhaps meets the ethical standards of your organization. So we're going to have a whole course on that. And then this super important course called Leading Change, right? This is how you as a digital forward person are going to work in your organization, and you're going to leverage support for your ideas, and you're going to be able to push those forward, get enough support that you need to be successful, because a lot of digital transformations and a lot of organizations fail, and that failure is a direct result of people just roadblocking you all the time. So we want to give some instruction on how do you get it done, right? How do you leverage people? How do you do this? Now, I have talked a lot about the business side of things, but it is a technical program as well. So these are some of the programming languages and tools we'll be using. SQL, Tableau, lots of Python programming. So you should have a good idea of Python before you start the program. And then we get into SAS Viya, Snowflake, Power BI, all those kinds of things. We have academic licensing for everything. Okay, now let's focus on the hybrid piece. So what is it? So hybrid learning, okay, is a blend of synchronous in-person learning. So those 2 one-week sessions where you come to Kingston, and then the online learning after that. So you will, if you're in Ottawa or Montreal or London or Calgary, you will be able to log into a live classroom where a professor is teaching from that classroom. So you can expect that classroom to be quite full, okay? There'll be lots of students, probably about 70 students inside the classroom. Plus there'll be anywhere between 5 and 12 students that are actually hybrid. And so they'll be logged in. And so I'm going to show you a picture of the classroom and some of the renovations that we're doing that are going to help us make this happen. So the modality here is that the lectures are live, okay? You will participate in class. You're expected to participate in class. You'll be expected to have your camera on, and you will do this virtually. And so people in the classroom will be able to see your face as though you were in the classroom. Okay, so I think it's a really important thing that even though you're at home at your personal desk with your computer open, you need to think about this as though you are attending a live class, because you are. Okay, so that's going to be really important. And then, of course, we have our same course websites that we have right now for the program. So that has some asynchronous resources for you to get access to and things like that as well. So all those modalities basically stay the same, okay, as the regular MMAI program. The only kicker is you are home logging in, and you can see exactly what's going on in the classroom. And this is one of our goals here with hybrid learning, is to make sure that it's completely seamless. We want the integration of people who are online to be absolutely seamless with the people in the classroom. So the classroom is going to, I'll show you a picture in a second, but the classroom is fully equipped with, the microphones, the speakers, the cameras, all that kind of stuff. So you will have that feeling that you are in the classroom with the rest of the students. And so here's the class. This is room 112 at our Smith Toronto facility. Now, what you can see is, let me just get the annotation thing going on here. Okay, you can see these big black square rectangles. So right there and there. there, there, and there. And so what's going to happen here is that, so as you can see, the traditional classroom has whiteboards back there. So we're replacing those whiteboards. This big one here in the middle is going to be an electronic whiteboard. Okay, so again, fully interactive. You can annotate. This computer here as well has a touch screen on it as well. And so we do this in Goods Hall now for our commerce students, so people can annotate their slides and things like that. Just what I'm doing here, they can do that on the computer, and it gets projected to these big screens over here. Okay, so you got lots of visualization for the students in the classroom. You, of course, will see it over Zoom. These ones here are going to be the audience that are the students that are on the hybrid version. So this is where your face will show up. And so what we're going to be doing is probably having behind the scenes, we have a whole TV studio. Okay, so that's another piece. I suppose I could have included a picture, but we have a studio who is going to be bringing your team together. So all of your team will show up in one of these monitors. Okay, so that you're seen as together in the classroom. And so similarly, if there's going to be other monitors down here for the professor, so if you raise your hand in Zoom, the professor will see that. We're also going to have support staff in the classroom to do this as well, and they'll be able to ask questions, and you'll be able to literally come off mute, ask your question, and then the professor will be able to answer that live as well. And so all of this entire environment is recorded, and you've got access to this after the fact, so you can attend or watch the lecture multiple times if you're having a little bit of trouble and you want to get things organized, and you can see people's presentations and all that kind of stuff. And so, like I said, when the professor is at the podium teaching to this classroom full of students, when it's presentation time, for example, boom, we'll just switch it over. The students are no longer at the front of the classroom. The students are on the screens, and you can do your presentation on there. You can move your slides, do all that kind of stuff. And so everything happens. Before I move on from this particular slide, does anybody have any questions about the technological infrastructure? Okay, I'm not seeing any come in, so that's a good sign. Okay. So anyway, these upgrades are happening in January and February, so they'll be all set, ready, and tested before the May classes start. Okay. There we go, and my annotation still shows up. That's what I was worried about. And off. All right, anyway, we'll have to live with that for a second. So this is, again, getting back to the interactive learning experience that we're talking about. We have been running our MMA program for 5 years now, and in a blended fashion. And so we know that we can do this, and we can do this well. We would not be embarking on this if we didn't think we could do it. MMA Blended has been extremely successful because it's allowed us to bring in students literally from across Canada and around the world. We have had students from Riyadh and Beijing and Singapore and Victoria, BC, Vancouver, BC, Calgary, Edmonton, all across Canada, Halifax, and Newfoundland. And so, this is something that we and I, when I've been building out this program and meeting with prospective students, I have heard many, many people mention to me that, hey, I live in Calgary, right? I want to take the MMAI program. Is there any time you're doing it in a blended fashion? And so well, we've been lucky enough to be able to get this technology installed into our classroom, to be able to do this in a hybrid fashion, and to be able to literally broadcast out the lectures and stuff. So it's very exciting. It's also great on the sidebar for things like guest lectures, panel discussions, and things like that. So again, now we can run, we run lots of different events, certainly alumni panels, particularly guest speakers, all these things. And so now we can broadcast those out too. So again, that's an important part of your learning experience, that you can do this. Now, so we do have this experience running MMA Blended. So the idea of a Zoom experience, breakout rooms on Zoom, we've got the AI companion now that can kind of keep notes for you and all that kind of stuff. So we've got all these wonderful tools that make it much more easy to run these programs over there. We've got a lot of, this is different for you. You think about students taking it in a different way. This is also a very different way of teaching for faculty. Because they do have to be aware that there are students who are online and virtual, and so there are some training opportunities here to do with our faculty, and we're getting them on board to do this. And so we are running workshops for them on how they can do this better. We're providing lots of different teaching resources and instructional design support to get this done as well, to make sure that your experience is absolutely top quality. During this process, I personally will be reaching out to you, right? So if you join the program, I want to find out how your experience is going, if this is working well. And I promise you now that, if there's something that's not working well for you, I will do my very best to change that and to make sure that this is, again, that top quality experience we want. So the feedback loops are going to be there. We will be looking for continuous improvement as we do this for the first time. And, we're going to be reaching out to you personally to get this kind of information, to find out what's going on. Because it's really important that you have this top-notch student experience, right? So we'll be running, we'll probably have a couple of different sort of intro to hybrid before the program actually starts, so that everybody's very comfortable using Zoom and understanding what this is going to look like, and give you a chance to play with it right before classes actually start. So we'll get that done for sure. We have a lot of support for everybody. So we have technical support. We have our just standard academic advising, which all the students get. And, we're developing peer networks as well. And so, as you can imagine, Smith School of Business, we have lots, and Queen's University on a bigger scale, we have lots of alumni in the cities where you're probably coming from, right? And so we've got these networks as well. We do an Engage cross Canada trek every year as well. And so, you'll be invited to all those things, right? You'll be part of the Smith family once you join the program, and you'll have lots of opportunity to connect and build out that network that you want. And of course, this is a very inclusive and accessible way to teach as well, right? So, if there's any sort of LDs or anything like that out there, or social anxiety or anything like that, this is a great way for people to take the program without having to worry about being in a classroom of 70 people. Okay, now looking ahead. So we are always looking ahead, trying to figure out what's next and how to offer the best service to as many students as we possibly can. So we are looking at, this is, I'll call this phase one of the technological upgrades to the classroom. Hopefully in next year, or maybe the year after that, we'll have even more upgrades. We're talking about bringing in a video wall down the one side of the classroom, so that your hybrid students are literally in the classroom with the other students. So it'll look like another row at the back or the side of the classroom. We're continuing integration with different AI tools and analytics. We talked about the AI companion in Zoom, which is very, very helpful and actually astonishingly accurate. And analytics to support student success and things as well. So we're sort of practicing what we preach in the programs. And of course, there's opportunities for research and innovation. So as we, roll this out, and this becomes, I think anyway, it's going to become a new standard way of universities and teaching. We're going to be, looking for these opportunities for not only our research and innovation, but also your personal interests as well. So let's just say you're in Ottawa, you're working for the federal government, and they've got a huge AI initiative happening right now. If there's some opportunities for you in your workplace, maybe to get a research grant to look at something and maybe apply it to your capstone project, we're here to support you in that as well. So we have a quite a substantial industry partnerships group here at Queen's, and so we can leverage them to make sure that these opportunities exist for all of our students. Okay, now the key messages, right, that I want to sort of talk about to you is the fact that this is exactly the same program as the MMAI program that we offer in Toronto, right? You will actually be in the classroom just virtually, right? So your same professors, same team environment, same resources, same question breakouts, all that kind of stuff is all happening. You get the same career advancement center support. You get the same team coaching and team support as well. And so all of that is absolutely the same as the program. The only difference is that you don't have to drive to downtown Toronto to attend classes. You'll be able to log in and participate as well, because it's going to be very interactive. The professor is in the classroom, like face to face with, let's say, 70 people. And then we also have the people who are going to be in a hybrid version. And so we've got extra support in the classroom to make sure that you're heard. You know, if a hand goes up virtually and the professor doesn't see that because they're in a conversation with another student, we will have staff in the room who can then say, hey, we've got a question online, to make sure that you are heard. And certainly that's going to be an expectation of mine, is that you do participate fully in the classroom discussions as well. The team aspects, again, is the same. We put you on the team. Half of all your assessments are going to be team-based assessments. And so all that's happening. And of course, you know, I would say one of the most important parts is that, you know, when you're in Toronto, pop in. If it happens to be a class time and you happen to be in Toronto for work or whatever, because the class time will be in the evening, you can pop in and you can join the in-person class, right? That's perfectly fine. It might get a little bit weird if you have to do a breakout, but you'll just go out to a breakout room and log into the Zoom and meet up with your fellow students or your fellow teammates. That's okay too, because we're using this cool technology and it works really, really well. And so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so, and as I mentioned actually before, you know, this is an opportunity. This is going to be, you know, somewhat new to us, even though we do have lots of experience. And so we're going to be looking for that feedback and collaboration from everybody who does this. And that actually includes in-class students as well. We want to make sure that, you know, we'll talk to like student leadership groups and that kind of stuff to make sure that they're feeling that hybrid students are included into the classroom. Okay, so let's open up this 2 questions. Okay, I've got a question here. For group projects, would the groups be prioritized based on who's hybrid and who's not? How do group assignments work if a group made it mostly in-person and one hybrid? Okay, so we do this actually with our executive MBA programs and accelerated MBA, all that kind of stuff. So in those programs, we have literally people all over the place. We have what we call boardrooms. So we have boardrooms across Canada, and we also have people in virtual teams. Again, this is not a difficult challenge, because we have, when we leverage Zoom, and if you prefer Teams or Google Meet, whatever, that's okay. You and your teammates will make that up. But what happens is we put you onto a team, you're on that same team for the entire program. Okay, we actually don't allow any switches midterm or anything like that. So you're on that same team. So you and your teammates will identify how you're going to meet, how you're going to work on assignments, and come up with a plan. And basically, if anybody's done project management stuff, but you'll have like a team charter, and inside that charter, you'll identify these things. So what can happen then is that we try to make the teams to be as diverse as possible. Well, I envision, put it this way, that the hybrid students will be together in a team. If we can meet our diversity expectations, we can do that so that everyone is very seamless. So you just zip off to a Zoom group or a meeting room, and then you can have your discussions and stuff, and you'll come back to the professor when they call you back, right? So all that kind of stuff is super seamless. If you ended up in a situation where you had a mix, You had some people who are in person and some people online. Again, not that challenging, because what you'll do is everyone will have a Zoom link right to the class. And so let's say you're an in-person person. In person, the professor will say, okay, go out to your breakout rooms, discuss this case study, and come back here in 30 minutes or 45 minutes. At that point, the in-person, you will go to your breakout room. You will then log into the Zoom call, and then you will go to your breakout room with your teammates. So the people who are in person will physically be in a breakout room, and the people who are hybrid, they will be online, and then you can still have a discussion. Our breakout rooms at Smith Toronto have large TV monitors. They're equipped for video conferencing. They do all that kind of stuff. So you will have a very seamless, again, experience in getting in there, connecting to your teams, and without any technical difficulties. That's another big thing. We don't want 15 minutes of pulling cables and stuff. So we've got that. We've got that down, right? We know how to do that really well. And so that's basically what will happen. Is it should be quite seamless. Okay, I'm actually not seeing any other questions. Anybody else have any thoughts, ideas? Maybe I'm going to turn this around to you as well. Like, is this helpful that we offer hybrid? If you're not inside the GTA and it's very difficult for you to get down to the classroom, do you want to take the MMAI program from wherever you're located? Another side of it too, we had some people who work for consulting firms like IBM and Deloitte and stuff who end up, they travel 2 weeks of every month. And so sometimes they'll be hybrid, sometimes they'll be in person. And so we want to keep it this sort of same. Daniel's asking, is the cost of hybrid the same as the in-person? Yes. So all tuition is basically determined by the Ontario government, within the realms of the Ontario government. And so this is a degree program. It's exactly the same degree. So it actually costs exactly the same. Okay, any other thoughts? Okay, so we'll go here. So this QR code, it will connect you with our recruitment team to be able to book a meeting. If you have any other questions or thoughts about hybrid learning for MMAI, you can click on here, book a virtual call. We've got a website down there as well. Our staff, particularly Alex, Yelin, and Jen Mayer, will be able to help you with whatever you need, and I'm certainly available too if you have any other questions. Okay, yeah. So we've got one person who is actually from Edmonton. So this is exactly, what I've been hearing from people, especially, Edmonton and Calgary, right? You're making a big push for tech and fintech and AI, and the oil patch is like ripe for this kind of stuff. And so I think that there's a lot of opportunity there for sure. We certainly have seen a lot of people in the analytics program and the MMA blended from Calgary particularly, and then across the country, a lot of public servants, like government people at all levels, right? From municipal, provincial, and federal. We have a lot of people doing analytics, which is great to see governments taking AI and analytics seriously for the first time in a very long time, and starting to invest some money in here as well. So I think that this is just going to make everything so much better and so much more efficient, and be able to allow us to really focus on, I would argue, critical thinking and the things that matter, as opposed to some of these routines that we get ourselves into that AI is going to help us with. Okay, so I think that's it then, if I don't see any other questions coming up. So again, thank you very much for joining me. Please don't hesitate, right? Reach out if you have any questions or thoughts, fire us off an email. We want to make sure that people are very clear in what they're getting and what they're expecting, and we want to make sure you have the best experience possible. And really, aside from being the first cohort that we're offering the hybrid to, we want to make sure that the second cohort is just as good or better than the first cohort, right? So feedback and communication is that much more important. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And hopefully I'll see you in May in Kingston. All right, take care.